Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Poupart and Omar. We're on YouTube under
Poupino. We
Poupino.
got to come up with like a sexier name. Poupino.
Okay, that's fine. Anything, whatever you want to call us, we don't care. We're on YouTube under All Dolphins Podcast, wherever you find your podcasts under Miami Dolphins Insider. Today, we're going to talk about the opening of training camp, which is this week with veterans reporting on Tuesday. First off, let's discuss a couple of newsy items. The first one, agent Drew Rosenhaus saying on his weekly appearance on WSVN that Connor Williams and Zach Sealer will be there for the start of training camp. And the first reaction, of course, is this was to be expected because the CBA calls for a daily fine of $50,000 for every day you miss in training camp, and that cannot be rescinded. So Chris Jones, in case he's actually doing it, but I'm thinking he's signing a contract like, I don't know, 80, 90, 100 million. So for him, 50,000 for a few days, no biggie for most players. They're not putting up with that fine.
Yeah, when the players agreed to this new CBA deal that allowed them to smoke weed, which is basically and better pensions and better health care and weed, it's
and less work in the off season. In terms of the practice lengths and all that, and time at the facility.
Okay, better, more and less time at this facility, but more importantly, weed. It's one of the big drawbacks, and I really don't understand why the NFLPA agreed to this, was basically they obliterated the ability for players to have holdouts. Now, technically, what you can do is you can hold in, you can show up for practice. You do not have to participate. Okay. So that is generally what players are doing. We've seen that a number of times by Xavier Howard, who is the shakedown artist of the century here for the Miami Dolphins. And props to Xavier, because when a player has the leverage, he needs to use it. Absolutely. Now, Connor Williams tried to use his leverage by sitting out the offseason program. I understood why he sat out the offseason program. I did not understand why he lost $90,000 subjecting himself to skipping minicamp. But hey, everybody makes their own decisions. If you decide that you want to give away the price of a Mercedes or a new home down payment, my God, be my guest. The real issue is, if I'm the Dolphins, if his price point is to be a top 10 paid center, we can get a deal done. If his price point is to be a top 5 paid center, I'll see you next offseason. Yeah. And that's the position I'm at.
Okay, important point, though, to make, because you mentioned X. The fines for missing the mandatory minicamp in the offseason can be rescinded, as it was for X in 2021. So it's not impossible if the Dolphins and Connor Williams through Drew Rosenhaus eventually reach a deal where they'll be like, okay, erase it, don't worry about the minicamp fine. The fines per the CBA, the fines in training camp cannot be rescinded. So that $50,000 a day is going to stick, which is why I don't think anybody expected Connor Williams not to be there. And as I wrote on alldolphins.com Monday morning, the question now is he going to be practicing? That's good. That's going to be one of the storylines.
And that's very viable and possible. If I'm Connor Williams, strategically, I might not practice. I might not practice for the first couple of weeks. Teron Armstead doesn't practice. Why should I have to practice? Especially when I'm assuming the risks right now. If I'm Connor Williams, I might begin practicing the week before the exhibition season begins.
And potentially that might be why the Dolphins worked Liam Eichenberg at center in the offseason. So where if they're in this situation where Connor Williams is like, I ain't practicing, the Dolphins will say, no problem, we'll put Eichenberg over there. And guess what? If he plays well enough, he's going to wind up starting, and we'll deal with you appropriately. So other news item on this Monday morning, word out of Buffalo that Nyheim Hines, running back, out for the year, and the injury suffered away from the facility. What's that have to do with the Dolphins? Well, because of the old Dalvin Cook situation. Here's the thing, though, where I don't think we should immediately go 1 + 1 = 2. Is the Bills, Nyheim Hines' value to the Bills was mostly as a returner. If you remember the game last year, it was against, was it New England? Late in the year, had 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns. Yeah, I think in their first game back after the Damar Hamlin situation. At running back, the Bills still have James Cook, Dalvin's kid brother. Damian Harris, who they signed as a free agent from the Patriots, and Latavius Murray. I don't think there's a crying need for them to go out and sign Dalvin Cook because they lost Hines, but it's easy to make that jump.
It also, what's important to address is the fact that word on the street is that Dalvin Cook is not going to Buffalo because he would become a progress stopper for his brother, who is the next star, who this is his opportunity to become the Buffalo Bills flagship back, featured back. And if Dalvin Cook arrives, there goes that opportunity. So that's why you've heard every team in the AFC East mentioned for Dalvin Cook and strongly considered Dalvin Cook. And I do believe that it is an AFC East bidding war, except for the Buffalo Bills.
The other thing with Dalvin Cook is last night, I think it was, or yesterday, he put out a mystery tweet where it's just an emoji of shades, which of course can lead Dolphin fans to go, oh, he's going to go somewhere where he needs shades. That's South Florida. That's Miami. Is this Dalvin Cook having some fun with Twitter folks?
Oh,
who knows?
I don't read emojis like that. I can't hash between what an emoji means. I think, in my opinion, I think Dalvin Cook is probably going to spend the next 2 weeks, if not 3 weeks, getting himself ready for training camp with Nick Hicks, and then maybe make a decision. If, you could wait out the process probably till the first week of the exhibition season and see if a back is battling an injury or suffers a setback, and the team might get desperate. I really don't see that happening at this point, but I think either way, Dalvin Cook is fine. Dalvin Cook could wait till week 1 of the regular season, and I think he'll find work.
I still say, to me, the key spot to look at is the Jets and what happens to Breece Hall, who started training camp on PUP, because the Jets, I think, have Super Bowl aspirations, and I'm not sure they're getting there, or it's realistic for them to get there with this backfield minus Breece Hall. Okay, so let's jump, unless you have something else you might want to...
No, we didn't mention Nick Needham on the PUP, and I think that's important from this standpoint.
You're right, sorry, so my bad.
How do you forget Superstar? That's important from this standpoint. There are 3 players that are battling injuries that possibly had the potential to begin the season on the PUP. Brandon Jones, Nick Needham, and Williams, the safety. What is it?
Trill Williams.
Trill Williams, yes.
Can I add Teron Armstead, who may or may not have had off-season surgery?
Oh, you think Teron Armstead might begin the season on a PUP? He just posted a tweet that he is going to not only be the best Dolphins player on the team for his birthday, but he's going to be one of the best players in the NFL. Now, mind you, I can't argue with that.
Play. I mean,
it's hard to say you're better than Tyreek Hill, but you might be just as important, if not more important, than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a very important player. Yeah. Top 5, easily top 10 player in the NFL. Teron Armstead is a very important player to the Miami Dolphins. I mean, season goes flushable potentially if he's not there. So I love the tweet. I love the confidence. Let's see. But you say PUP?
Oh, I said, would you be floored if he began on PUP? Again, here's the thing that people need to understand. If you start off on active PUP, that means you're just not ready to practice at the start. You can come off PUP anytime. It happens any day. Usually we get the notification like 8 o'clock in the morning and boom, and they're on the practice field. Not the same as reserve PUP, which means you're out for the first month of the regular season. And this is why all those lists, if it has the word active and you count against the roster, but you can come off it any old time. So I'm not saying he will. I'm saying would it floor me? No, it wouldn't floor me.
Which one would Nick Needham start on? Was active or reserve?
He's on active. He's on active PUP.
Okay, that's pretty encouraging from the Achilles. I'm going to be on Brandon Jones' watch from this standpoint. I think Trill Williams is ready to begin practicing. He suffered his injury back in August?
Yep.
August. Whereas Nick Needham and Brandon Jones, they both suffered their injury in late October. That's going to be a little bit tricky. I think an Achilles, from what I understand from players, an Achilles is way more challenging than an ACL. So that justifies why Nick Needham is a little bit behind Brandon Jones. I'm very curious to see what Brandon Jones is all about and what's going to happen with the safety position. But it hints to me, why I brought it up, that True Williams and Brandon Jones might begin training camp active.
Well, and usually what happens with those things, as you know, Omar, is the veterans report on the day they're scheduled to report. They go through the physical, and this is when you see usually on that particular day 3 or 4 guys. Some teams have 5 guys winding up on PUP. So with the Dolphins, they were aware of this with Needham. They didn't wait until reporting day. They did it, last week.
Okay.
Not that it makes a huge difference, but it's,
Yeah, but also we make the point of the injured guys are here working. They're rehabbing. They don't get a good month off in the program. So they know where Brandon Jones is. They know where True Williams is. True Williams last week, I believe, tweeted out, got the green light. So we shall see.
No, which would be good news because we both talked about how intriguing we find the guy. Okay, so let's move on to our storylines of training camp, unless there's something else you'd like to discuss.
Oh, there is absolutely
really? Wow.
Something else that I would like to address.
And what, pray tell, might that be?
Well, in our last podcast, we had a very healthy, and I think we do need a 12-round discussion. And I think we do need a 12-round discussion about where Tua Tagovailoa is as a quarterback. What are our concerns? What are our reservations? This is not now. This is not what we're going to do now. However, we talked about Tua and where his standing was and what his strengths were. And you made 2 statements that really troubled me and perplexed me. The first was you bragged that, hey, I wouldn't argue with you.
Brag. I don't brag. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You waved it in my face that I wouldn't rank Tua in my top 10. I would say conservatively, he's clearly a top 15 quarterback. He's in my top 50, but I wouldn't say he's in my top 10. And the only reason I wouldn't say he's in my top 10 is because I didn't sit down this offseason and ranked it how I usually rank it. And when I finally did, and you can find that on alldolphins.com, I said Tua was my 14th ranked quarterback. Now, you could look at the list. Please do, before you get your panties in a bunch, everybody, look at the list. I understand that I grouped everybody up. The elites with their fall from grace guys were still ahead of Tua. Yes, I put Russell Wilson ahead of Tua. I'm sorry. Russell Wilson's headed to the Hall of Fame if he just gets 2 more seasons like he had in Seattle. So Tua is not a Hall of Fame quarterback right now. If you want to say that, you'd be lying to yourself. Could he be? Absolutely. Then I still have guys like Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, and yes, Justin Herbert ahead of Tua. I ranked Justin Herbert ahead of Tua, and I explained it. If we're just, I would still pick, I know, don't even say anything. I don't want a word from you. I would still pick Tua over Justin Herbert. But if you're saying to me, give this quarterback the exact same team from a skill set standpoint, from a health standpoint, I would be a moron if I picked Tua over Herbert. Now, do I think Tua will have a better career than Herbert? I absolutely still believe that. Now, he's 14. Can he get up into the top 10? Yes. Can he get up into the top 5? Which is my expectation for Tua this season. And I've said that since 2020 before the Dolphins drafted him. I think he's going to be an elite quarterback. And the reason that I think he's going to be an elite quarterback is because he has elite traits. Now, this gets to our second point of the discussion where Mr. Alain Poupart will give Tua a lot of credit and will tell you where Tua is elite. Please tell the people where Tua is elite, in your opinion, as a quarterback. Okay,
and this conversation this is what a Twitter back and forth with fans who were all up in arms because you have him as elite in pocket presence, showing me one play where he moves up in the pocket to avoid the rush. Two plays where I would make the argument you could get that with every single solitary quarterback. That does not
Ryan Tannehill.
Is the bar really Ryan Tannehill for pocket presence? Come on. That's the thing. I think it's pocket presence. It's fine. I wouldn't call it elite.
Fine.
It's fine.
Fine.
It's B.
Fine.
It's B. Where I would think where I would rank Tua as elite is short range accuracy, intermediate range accuracy, release, and touch. He throws like the feather ball over the linebacker. Okay.
Accuracy and precision passing.
Absolutely beautifully. And the release is very quick and he gets it out. Okay. So that's 4 areas. Okay. And the other part where I didn't brag, I have not done a 1 to 20 ranking. Shame on me. I should do one and I should post it, especially since you did one. What I said is the way I've seen it is I see 8 or 9 quarterbacks clearly better than Tua. And yes, that includes Justin Herbert. And then, and I would have no issue putting Tua anywhere in the next cluster, whether from like 10 to 15. So if somebody wants to put him at 10, off the top of my head, I don't think it's outrageous. I think it's outrageous to put him at 5 right now.
Dak Prescott.
I'm not, very even. I actually think Tua might be better. I'm not a huge Dak Prescott.
Derek Carr.
Close to even.
Who are you picking?
Based on because Tua has a higher ceiling, I think I might put Tua higher because I think Derek Carr can get frazzled.
I would not.
See, that's the issue with Derek Carr. Derek Carr throws a really nice ball, but he can get rattled.
Okay,
and I've seen it many times.
Is Matt Stafford in your top 8?
Yes. Again, this is obviously guys being healthy.
Okay.
Matt Stafford's a hell of a quarterback. Last year, he had problems with his elbow. If his elbow is all messed up, no, obviously.
Russell Wilson.
I'd probably put Russell Wilson ahead. Again, understanding that this is where Tua fans are going to be like, Russell Wilson sucked last year. Yes, he did. Okay.
1 year. Tua was great for 1 year. Like
correct.
Russell was great for 9 years.
And that's the same with Aaron Rodgers. I happen to think Aaron Rodgers is probably top 5, top 6 right now, even though he did not have a great 2022 season. Because, oh, by the way, he was MVP in 2020 and 2021.
Deshaun Watson.
If I'm going back to if it's Houston, Deshaun Watson, yeah. And of course, absolutely the argument can be made that he looked horrible last year. Yes, he did. He hadn't played in
1 year.
Correct. I think
Tua had 1 good year.
I think the best of what we've seen of Deshaun Watson so far is better than with the best of what we've seen from Tua. Now, like you said, yeah, absolutely. Tua can move up. Can he move up to top 5? We'll see. And this is where the difference between you and I, where right now I may, again, if I sit down and do a comprehensive ranking of the top 20 quarterbacks, my guess I'll probably have Tua close to where you have him, maybe 12 or 13, maybe a little bit higher. You're adamant that he's moving way up this year. I want to see it. That's one difference that you and I have.
He was the number 1 rated quarterback in the NFL. And let's.
And Ryan Tannehill was the number 1 rated quarterback in the NFL. So was Nick Foles. Yeah, I know we keep going on this, and I had again people on Twitter. He was number 1 in the NFL.
In the first year in the offense, this is the first time he's ever going to have the same offense since his high school days. Poupart.
Justin Herbert had a different offense 6 consecutive years. It happens. Okay, it's the NFL. It happens. And the point I was going to make before, the point I was going to make before with this whole thing of like he was number 1 in the NFL and rating passes of 20 yards. Dude, I literally sat down over the weekend, did this a project of mine, just to try to be fair. Did my eyes deceive me? Do I have this thing against Tua for some reason? Let me rewatch through NFL Plus every single completion of 20 yards or more last year that Tua had. And as I said last week, the times where his receivers, literally the first one of the seasons against New England, it's a Tyreek Hill, and the announcer, I think it was Kevin Harlan, is like, the first words out of his mouth were wide open. And you see it's Tyreek Hill on the left side. And I sent you that clip and you told me Tua found him. Yeah, he had protection up the wazoo. Tyreek Hill has an umbrella of like 5 yards, nobody around him. That's an easy pitch and catch.
And every quarterback gets 5 throws like that a game. So your point?
My point is that to say Tua had the best passer rating on like the deep throws, which is 20 yards or more. It's not over the top, number 1. The 20 yards or more, by itself is misleading if you don't bring up the fact the Dolphins had the 2 fastest wide receivers in the NFL and they were wide open half the season. And
now they got the 3 fastest wide receivers in the NFL. Are you gonna just discredit everything that he does because
nor did I discredit everything he did last year. I said, and I'll say it again, he had a very good 2022 season.
Okay, hold on. Let's put a pin in this because we will have this 12-round discussion before we begin the regular season. We will do this. But where we divide is you give Tua 4 elite traits. I give him 5. And and the 5th is pocket presence. And he's had this since college. The issue where you say it's not elite, I understand, and there's validity to it. And it goes back to what Nick Saban said about him when he was coming out in college. Nick Saban's only concern when Tua was coming out from Alabama was he has a tendency to hold on to the ball too long, and it puts him in harm's way, at risk. This is a valid concern. It has been a valid concern his entire career, and every time he gets hurt, it's because he's holding on to the ball too long. And he holds on to the ball too long because he does have that spidey sense and that 6th sense of feeling pressure, stepping up. I'm not saying he's Dan Marino, but he is very good at movement up and down and evading in the pocket pressure. Yes. Is he going to get walloped from time to time? Yes, he does. Dan Marino got walloped from time to time. I can hear where you're coming from. It's not elite. It is good, though. Now, can it be elite if he just...
Wait, you just started your point here by saying it was elite. So is it?
It is elite. It is elite. It can be elite.
There's a difference between it can be, because now you're agreeing with me that it's not elite.
It is very, very, very close to elite. It is extremely promising. Now, can he speed that up a little bit? And I think he personally takes for granted that he's got this pocket presence, that he always has the knack for finding a way, and that puts him in harm's way. If he can curtail that a little bit and find some common ground, I think it will enter the elite stratosphere. Whereas you see it as, oh, well, he's going to keep doing it and he's going to get hurt. And there's some validity to that.
I never said that. I just said, okay, again, if you're going to show me like clips of guys moving up and down in the pocket, every quarterback does that.
Not Ryan Tannehill.
Poor Ryan, man, Jesus. Okay, sorry. 3/4 of NFL starting quarterbacks does that. Here's the other thing too: is I see, and I shouldn't even go there, but I'm gonna go there anyway. Eye manipulation. You've covered the NFL a long time. Yeah. Tell me if that's not looking off a receiver. That's what eye manipulation is. And guess what? That's quarterback 101. You're not supposed to stare down your receiver. You're supposed to look to the side to influence the safety and then create a lane. I mean, and how many quarterbacks do that or don't do that? Come on. It's not like unique. So again, this is why for me, like the elite traits where Tua stands out among other
that I will admit that the eye manipulation, that's not an elite trait for Tua.
And he does it from time to time, and he does it well. But every quarterback, it's quarterback 101.
It's not elite trait.
It's called looking off a receiver. Jesus,
he's an RPO quarterback, and there's no shame in being an RPO quarterback. RPO has taken over the college game. It's going to infiltrate. It has infiltrated the NFL, and I think they're incorporating more RPOs into this offense because it's not part of what Mike McDaniel grew up on, to cater to Tua, and I think it is to his skill set and it is to his strength. I've always when the Dolphins drafted Tua, I looked at Tua. He's a phenomenal RPO quarterback. They make film breakups and teach high school and college players about the RPO using Tua, not Mac Jones, using Tua as this is the prototype. I know this because I have friends who are college and high school coaches and offensive. There is a blueprint for the RPO, and Tua is the prototype in terms of decision making, eye placement, and all that good stuff. But that's over there. My hope is that he will grow into an elite pocket presence quarterback. He has everything that he needs. Now that he's added this muscle and body and bigger shoulders and broader neck and all this kind of stuff, it'll help him become more durable. But does he need to get the ball out of his hand more often and not take for granted that he's got good pocket presence? Okay, I said good, not elite. Yes, he does.
Okay, but and to me, I don't know if the idea of like knowing when to give up on a play is I don't know if it's more decision making than pocket presence. There are times when stop being so stubborn. There's nothing there. It's okay, especially if on non-third down.
There's always something there for him. He always feels like he can get something, and that's the problem.
This is where he gets in trouble. By the way, I will add another elite trait to him: throwing over the middle. He throws over the middle extremely well. Okay. Are you fighting me on saying I'm saying Tua does?
I'm not gifting him anything.
You're a Tua hater. You're a Tua hater.
If you say anything negative about
Tua, you're a hater, not me. He's a Tua hater. Yes. Okay. We good, or can we move on to the training camp? Our training camp.
We will, but we're going to do these 12 rounds. But I want us to actually have watched some exhibition season, watch some training camp practice, be able to assess the growth. And I want to see the growth with Tyreek, not what we saw in past mini camp, because the game changes when Tyreek's on the field. Like everybody's in a panic. So when we see him with Tyreek and with Chosen and with Waddle, I totally forgot Waddle's name. And maybe with Cook, we'll assess.
Okay, we will. And as a programming note, we will be doing a podcast.
Tell the people what the plan is, Poop.
The plan is to do a podcast after each and every single solitary practice, with maybe even episodes in between on days off to recap
the week. Oh, we'll definitely do a recap of the week.
Maybe answer some questions.
Here's the thing. We're going to play this by ear. And if you want something as a listener, or you want to do something, we're making this up as we go. And if you're not listening to the podcast on a daily basis, we're not going to do podcasts on a daily basis. So that's just the reality of it. I think we will be on the ground, eyes and ears for you as the fans. We have been for years. Everybody knows how I rock in training camp. It's my favorite time of year. It's like Christmas for me. And I will be there rocking. And for those who follow me for years, the only eyes out at practice that I ever trusted for 15 years is Alain Poupart, which is why we're here, which is why we're doing this podcast. Poupart watches practice like a hawk, like I do. We cross-check everything. So where you're going to get the best training camp coverage. So I will say this, open platform. If there's something that you want from training camp, put it in the comment section of this here podcast, and we shall discuss it and more than likely deliver it.
Yep, another quick program, Brian, note. We also, when we say we'll be at every training camp practice, we will be in Houston as well. Both Omar and I are going to be in Houston. So subscribe, download, like. What else is there to do on a podcast? Or subscribe, download, like. Anything else? Is that it?
Tell them where to find us, the written work, Poupart.
Yeah, that's on alldolphins.com.
Bookmark it, please.
Yes.
Make sure you check it on a daily basis.
Okay, so now back to the fun here. Training camp, we'll go quickly, position by position, what to look for. At quarterback, what I want to see is Mike White. I want to see Mike White impress me, because I am still of the opinion, even though I know that Skylar Thompson has his group of fans and all that, I am still of the opinion that it's
Skylar Thompson has a group of fans?
Sorry?
Skylar Thompson has a group of fans?
He does. Yeah, but he does. Who think he could make the move for the number 2 job. I think it's Mike White's job all the way. I want to be impressed. Dare I say I want to be dazzled? Maybe not dazzled. I want to be impressed to where I'm going to feel comfortable heading into the regular season, that the Dolphins are in good hands if something happens to Tua.
Okay. I am going to slow down on the Mike White slander, which I have been accused of. I will say that it is a training camp battle. I'm not impressed with Mike White's arm. He's got the worst of the 3 quarterbacks. We'll see how it progresses. We got a whole exhibition season. Let me bring it to the quarterback position, to the wide receiver position. Here's what I'm looking for in camp.
All right.
Can Braxton Berrios loosen Robbie Chosen's stronghold on the number 3 position. Because I think that's the only contender, unless Eric Uzukama just comes out of nowhere.
Correct.
And is absolutely dominant with the number 2 quarterback, and the team has like, oh, well, we got to call him up. Chosen looks good, and he's absolutely motivated. I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm
bringing up Braxton Berrios. That's a slot receiver. So if the Dolphins feel like, hey, we need a slot receiver instead of moving Tyreek inside to the slot or Waddle inside to the slot on those three receiver sets, then Braxton Berrios is in the money. But Chosen's also played slot.
Well, correct. But to me, it's just more and more options for Mike McDaniel, where I could see, I could see a bunch of guys playing in the slot at different times. And Hill and Waddle are going to be on the field as much as they physically can. And then I can see Chosen and Berrios getting the rest. At running back, the one thing, because we're getting there. At running back, to me, I want to see Devon Achane and exactly how they use him. We know what we have in Mostert, Wilson, Ahmed, Gaskin. Obviously, if Dalvin Cook comes in at some point, it's a whole different story. But for now, I want to see Devon Achane and how the Dolphins can utilize him.
Let me give you one thing about Devon Achane, and I've said this on the Joe Rose show. And for those who don't know, I'm going to be part of the WQAM pregame show. That's an announcement. Devon Achane, I'm going to be looking forward to one particular day in practice, and that's that one day in practice where they're doing one-on-ones, individual work, and Devon Achane has to do a blocking protection of the blitzing linebacker.
Backs on backers.
Backs on, yeah, exactly. Backs on backers. Huh? What is it?
Backs on backers.
Yes. If he can't hold up, he can't play for me. Not in year one. And I don't know if he can or if he can't. So we'll see.
No, that's a valid point, because you put him in the game. Although I don't know exactly how many times he's going to be asked to protect against the blitzing linebacker. But you certainly like to have him have that ability. I don't know that they would completely make him a wash if he doesn't do it. But yeah, that's something very important.
I'm not saying wash, red shirt. Not wash.
Well,
never a wash.
Red shirt, that's a wash.
I think he's going to be a gunner year one. The amount of special teams work that I saw him do during practice, they definitely plan on making him a gunner and probably the kickoff returner.
And that for me would be a disappointing. If that's all he does, that would be a disappointing rookie season for a 3rd round pick on a team that had 4 picks. Okay, tight ends.
Give me 1 second. Go do your tight ends. I'll be right back.
Okay, so tight ends. What I want to see, very simple. Can anybody there emerge as a pass catching threat among the group that includes Durham Smythe, Eric Saubert, Tyler Croft, rookie 6th round pick, Elijah Higgins from Stanford, who, like Tanner Connor, is a converted wide receiver making the transition. It's entirely possible that none of those guys will emerge as a pass catching threat at tight end. And that's fine. You know why? Because last year the Dolphins didn't really have anybody who was a major factor in the passing game. And that included Mike Gesicki. The offense is built around the wide receiver and then even the speed at running back.
Here's my question and concern about the tight end position, which I think is going to be minimized. We know who Durham Smythe is as a blocker. Top shelf. Can somebody else give me that blocking and a little bit more of a pass catching threat? I don't know. I definitely know it's not one of the wide receiver converts. Now, the question is, can somebody else, Eric Saubert or Tyler Croft, can somebody else give me a little bit more than what Durham Smythe can? If not, we're just putting a pin in this position. We're just stop-gapping it, and we're just making do with what we got. Because I don't see anybody becoming a 30-catch tight end this season.
No, I could see that. Offensive line, we already spoke about Connor Williams and will he wind up practicing. Obviously, the other thing is, how does Austin Jackson look at right tackle? That's the other key factor. What winds up happening at left guard?
Doesn't really matter, because he's going to start the season at right tackle.
Austin Jackson?
Yeah.
No, but I understand that, but you want to develop a little bit of a level of confidence that he's going to get the job done. Do you not?
You know what? No, I don't. No, I'm when the bullets are live and real, we'll know about Austin Jackson in September, and then we'll probably be moving on in October. What my concern is for that offensive tackle position, it is I need to know that there's somebody competent and capable of holding it down for Teron Armstead when he sits out all of training camp and all of the exhibition season. We're talking about 800 plus snaps that somebody's got to go and block Tua's, well, not blindside, block that, play that left tackle spot with the starters. I need to know if somebody's capable of doing it. Anybody, somebody, anybody, scream. Whether it's Isaiah Wynn, I don't know where he's going to be in the left tackle. I think he's the swing man, left tackle and left guard. He's going to play on that side. Which snaps, who knows?
Cedric O is another possibility.
What'd you say?
Cedric O would be another possibility.
No, I think he wants to play right tackle. He was very clear.
He can want whatever he wants, but I think the Dolphins definitely going to give him a look over there. Again, if it's not going to be Isaiah Wynn, they need to, like you said, they need to have a good backup plan because history.
Jerron Christensen, the Lamb kid.
Come on.
The Lamb kid, Kendall Lamb. We got Ryan Hayes, which both me and you were just like,
Those guys are more right tackles, though, especially in the case of Kendall Lamb. Let's move on.
Left tackle.
Okay, we're approaching the 2-minute warning here, so let's move on quickly on defense at every level. I'll give you my 3 things, and then you give me your 3 things in about 2 minutes or less. Defensive line, I want to see anybody other than the frontline guys emerge because they have no depth. On the interior of the defensive line, they have 0 depth. So anybody outside of Raekwon Davis, Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer, I want to see somebody emerge. At linebacker, I want to see David Long Jr. make some plays in practice and, more importantly, be on the field for every practice. I don't want to see any hamstring issue pop up 2 weeks into camp because that's an injury history, and that's going to be nasty. And
are you comfortable with depth at linebacker?
Not remotely.
Okay.
Not remotely, especially given David Long Jr.'s injury history. And in the secondary, I want to see Trill Williams and what kind of steps he can take and whether he can pick up where he was last year when he tore his ACL in the preseason opener.
We have the same list. David Long Jr. I got to see something. Depth at linebacker, inside linebacker. I don't know where I feel about the Andrew Van Ginkel, the inside linebacker thing. Okay, it looks like a stopgap to me. I want something better than the stopgap. Which safety will replace Eric Rowe? I honestly think it's going to be Trill Williams. I'm curious to see what happens there. We got Veron McKinley the third. That's a possibility. Also defensively, I'm not even going to say this. Mitchell Agude, probably a top 5 player in the offseason program.
Great.
And I just need to see, was that real or was that fake?
Yeah, no, I agree. Quickly, last thing for me before we wrap this up. Amazing that we never mentioned even Channing Tindall, who was the team's top pick just a year ago. I mean, that's not good.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, but it would be a bonus. It would be a bonus.
Yeah.
Okay.
If he makes 5 plays, I'm going to count how many plays he makes. Anytime he makes a play, the people will know. I'm on Channing Tindall watch.
We'll make sure we might have a segment on this in every day on alldolphins.com. So on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Again, programming note, we will be doing a podcast every day after training camp practice and in the days in between as well. Check out the work on alldolphins.com as well. He is Omar and Poupart. Thanks again.